Welcome to the Quantum Soul Portal podcast. Here we explore quantum healing, spiritual awakening, and the deeper journey of the soul. I'm your host, Heather Hink. I'm a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner and the founder of the Quantum Soul Portal. I work with clients around the world through hypnosis and energetic field work to support deep healing, inner guidance, and connecting with your multidimensional self. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back to the Quantum Soul Portal podcast. I'm your host, Heather Hink. How are you? I hope you are doing well wherever in the world you are listening in from. In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to discern higher guidance from false light. And this episode is perfect for those of you who are learning to channel, who want to channel. Maybe you are wanting to connect with your guides, your angels, your higher self. This is a big part of the work that I do. We do a lot of this work inside the Quantum Soul Portal where we work directly with our guides, our angels, our divine teams of light. We are learning to channel, we are learning to connect and bring forward higher messages and higher guidance, which is really a lot of fun. I know so many of my clients, when they come in for a quantum healing hypnosis session, that is one of the things on their list often is, how can I hear my guides better? How can I connect with my guides? Many people feel very disconnected. They don't feel as though they are receiving messages or guidance. And we'll talk about that a little bit in this episode, but I wanted to share how to tell when you are connected, whether you are receiving guidance from higher benevolent beings, and when those trickster energies have snuck their way in, because I see this happening a lot, and it's nothing to fear. It's just something to be aware of and to strengthen your discernment. Discernment is key right now because there is a lot of dark energies that are fighting. Well, they're fighting to stay. They're being evicted from this planet. They're no longer going to be allowed to feed off of our light in the way that they have for a very long time, which is a great thing for us. And so there's a lot of trickster energy out there right now, and I want to help you discern how to know if you are talking to your guides and angels or if you have something else sneaking in and trying to pretend to be. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my journey with false light beings. And I've shared this on past podcasts, but I've been a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner for 6.5 years, and it's such an amazing career path. It's fascinating. You get to go through all of these different lifetimes and, human earth lifetimes. You get to explore those and learn more about these different time periods. And my favorite, though, is when we go galactic. Like, I love when a client starts in and they're like, I'm going to another planet. And I'm like, yes. What do you look like? They're like, I have webbed feet and I'm blue. And I'm like, yes. What does your head look like? I absolutely love listening to the detail. I'm just so fascinated. And to hear all of these different experiences. So that is so much fun to do when you are doing hypnosis sessions. And I really got into that when I first started my journey. I love to post the sessions that were, shareable, that weren't too personal. And I started filling my YouTube channel up with those types of videos. And if you want to take a peek at some of my sessions, because I have quite a few on there, lots of channeled messages, there's a lot. I have another YouTube channel. You can find me at Quantum Healing Within. That's my main umbrella website, quantumhealingwithin.com. And then I have the Quantum Soul Portal. But I would share all of these videos, and especially the galactic ones. I loved it because it teaches us. We learn. Well, actually, we remember, because we are these beings. We are the ones on these planets, and in these different interesting bodies. And so I loved that. And along my journey, I started noticing there was something a little different happening with some of my clients. And we would get to the higher self. And when you talk to enough higher selves, you feel the frequency of the information as it comes through. It is very light. It is very beautiful. It is very fluid. When a higher self really is able to drop in and the client is able to connect. The higher self is just amazing to talk to. You could have a conversation all day and just ask any question, because the higher self has all of the knowledge of the client's life and even past lives and other experiences. So all of that is held sort of within that higher aspect of who you are. And that's what we're tapping into in these hypnosis sessions. But I was finding in some of the sessions when we would get to the higher self, and at first you would feel like you had a good connection, and then something would go a little wonky. And all of a sudden the higher self didn't know the answer to something or was bothered. He was like put off. Like, why are you asking me that? I don't know. And I'm like, you're the higher self. You're supposed to know everything. Or sometimes the higher self would start cussing at you, and I'm like, no, something is really a little off here. Actually, it's a lot off. And then you would have some interesting experiences where the client was experiencing some sort of pain, or like something was moving around in their system. Now, I had seen from another practitioner who posted a lot of videos. I had watched many of them, and I had seen her remove entities and talk to earthbound spirits. So I knew it was a thing, but I could not for the life of me figure out how to create or open up that communication with my client, because I just really wasn't quite sure just yet what was happening. You know, when you're doing a quantum healing hypnosis session, you really are navigating in the dark. That's how I felt. You're dependent upon what your client is saying and what they're sharing. And then you're over here trying to figure out the next question or what to ask or how to navigate. And it really is interesting, especially when you're first getting started. I had this huge book that I created with every question under the sun, just in case I got stuck. But it's so much fun. It's like an investigative journey, to be honest. So I started realizing that something else was happening with my clients, and I started looking into attachments, and I discovered spirit release and spirit release therapy, which is a little bit different from the way that I learned how to do it within sessions. And then I came across Soul Center Healing Hypnosis, which Laura teaches entity release as a big part of that course. And so I took the course, and once I kind of understood a little bit more of how to bring these entities and things to the surface, oh my goodness, my calendar exploded with entity release clients. Not that they were coming in for that, but you do the entity release part at the beginning of the session, and I still do that with all my sessions because I feel like it's one of the most important things. If you have an entity or an attachment on you, we need to get it off. You will feel better. Your life will shift, and more than likely, whatever is attached could be creating mental, emotional, and even physical issues for you. So I started doing all of these entity release sessions, and a lot of them, it was all we did. And I'm like, this is insane. Is this really a thing? You know, I kind of would get through with the session, and I would just sit there and say, what just happened? I would literally take off 2 or 3 earthbound spirits, a few entities. There'd be some attachments and some implants and pulling out hooks and cords and all sorts of connections back to different lifetimes, and then trauma energy, and the list goes on and on and on. And you're exhausted, your client's exhausted, and you're like, what was that? But this is a part of our reality, and it's one that many people don't talk about is, you know, the darker entities and things that exist. We live in an energetic world, and these entities and earthbound spirits that don't cross over. They are energy, and energy can become attached to energy. We have an energetic field running through our body. Chakra systems, meridians, toroidal field of energy around us. So they can become attached. Our etheric aura, our field, etheric field. It's insane. I know it sounds crazy, but I have a lot of those videos actually on my Quantum Healing Within channel because I really wanted to begin to spread awareness, because I thought, this is weird. It really is. But I want people to know that it's possible, because if you feel like you have something attached to you, you want to get it off. And so I started sharing my sessions just for people to hear, and you could be the judge. Some people were like, oh, this doesn't seem real. And others were just like, holy crap. I think this is me. This is what I'm feeling. So it did help a lot of people to kind of get that awareness of that being a possibility. But I talked to a lot, and I mean a lot, of entities and earthbound spirits. And if you're not sure what an earthbound spirit is, it is simply a soul, a human soul that does not cross back into the light or back to the other side. I know everybody's weird about the light because of the false light, but there is source light, and I think it's different from whatever this false trap thing light is. I'm just going to say it like that. I work with source light. And I work with the angels and the archangels, and that is how I have done all my sessions, and they have worked beautifully. But we work with the client to get these entities off. So an earthbound spirit, like I said, it is a soul that for whatever reason does not cross over at the time of their death. And that happens for many different reasons. They get confused. They are fearful to go over, to cross into the light, or into the next part of their, they're just fearful. They miss it. My understanding is that a light does open up, but again, my understanding is it's source light, but there's many who say there's, something else. So I won't argue with that. I've not come across that in any session. So I don't know if that's true or just something that we've, passed around. I will leave that to those who know. It is not me. But, we help these beings to exit the body. And what happens is they just get lost, or they stay here for whatever reason. Again, there's a wide range of reasons that they stay. And they find somebody that they're in sort of a vibrational alignment with, and they end up attaching. So energy to energy. And then you've got a person living within your field. I know that sounds insane, but if you knew the amount of sessions that I have done and the amount of earthbound spirits I have helped release off of people, you'd think differently. I promise it's a thing. It is a very strange thing, but it is a very strange part of our reality that many people aren't aware of. Also with entities, and entities are not human souls that have not crossed over. These are just something that is different. It is a lost from light entity, a lost from light being. As we know, as you may know, humans are not the only thing. There are many different types of extraterrestrials, light beings, collectives of energy. There's just a lot, more than most of us know. Elemental energies, all those things. And so as a hypnosis practitioner, the way in which we learn is we talk to them and we ask questions. Why did you attach to this person? What have you been causing them? What kind of issues have you been causing them? If it is an earthbound spirit, oftentimes we will take them back to the last day of their death and try to figure out, well, what happened to you? Were you murdered? Did you get killed? A lot of times when they don't go, they come out of their body too quick and they get disoriented. Again, there's fear put into them through religion that you're going to hell. And they're afraid, or they're afraid to leave their family, or there's many, many reasons again. And so we try to understand what happened to them and why they didn't cross over to the other side. why they are attached and what issues they've been causing. And it's really incredible to talk to all of these things. I've talked to entities of all kinds. I've talked to very sweet ones that just are confused. I don't know why I'm attached. I just am, and I've just been here, and I like her light, so I'm just living here. Didn't know that I could leave. And then you've got, the medium ones that are kind of like they just want to kind of mess with you because they can. And then you've got the dark ones. And we might say these are more kind of demonic ones. And I have dealt with a few of them, not too terribly many, but I've had my share. I've had my share. And they're very intense. And I've had some intense sessions that I've really had to sit there for a period of time after the session and decompress after what I just witnessed and experienced. This work is not for the faint of heart, but it's very rewarding, especially when you hear back from your client and the physical issues or the mental or emotional issues, they disappear and they feel better and life changes for them. Or the voices that were in their head, they realize were not theirs. It was whatever was attached to them, and now their mind is quiet. I've collected so many reviews from clients. I always ask for a review after a session because I want the feedback. How do you feel? What did you experience? Where are you? Because that helps me to know that what we're doing is working. So I've spoken to many. I've got to understand a wide range of entities and beings and attachments and how they can manipulate you. Because I have been manipulated in many sessions where, not many, I will say a few, we do a clearing, but they can still hide. These things are very tricky. And so we clear as much as we can. We're dependent on the client to really feel into their energy field and see if there's anything left. Again, we were working with the archangels and Archangel Michael and the divine teams of light to help assist. But occasionally you've got a hider. And that hider is very strong and they know how to do it. And so you get into the higher self portion of the questions and you're trucking along and everything sounds really good. Like it sounds high vibrational. It sounds full of light. And then they make a mistake and they say something. And I became so I listened because it would happen and it would frustrate me. Like I did a clearing and there's still a little sneaky attachment in there. And it's pretending to be the higher self. And you might say, well, how does that happen? Well, some of these are very strong and they can kind of overpower even the higher self. Don't ask me how it truly works. I don't know. I'm just saying that I experienced it. They'll say something wrong and my spidey senses go off and I'm like, nope. I learned if the higher self says certain things, it's not the higher self and you have to call it out. And so I would call it out. And sometimes it would still pretend and I'd call it out again. And I would bring in the teams of light and finally it would admit that it was not the higher self, which is so frustrating because you're like halfway through the questions and now you got to start over. But better to find it than let the client still have it. So I know from firsthand experience and quite a bit of it how tricky and manipulative these false light beings can be. And so you have to be really careful when you are starting to channel, when you are starting to connect with your guides and angels, when you are receiving messages. You have to learn, how do they feel? How do they sound? How do they make you feel? And if there's any red flags, I want you to really take that as a sign to disconnect, reset, and start over at another time. So there's many ways that we can connect with our guides and angels. We can do it through automatic writing. We can do it through pendulum. We can do it through tarot cards. That really doesn't give you actual words, but it gives you messages. That might not be the best example. Automatic writing, there's just direct channeling. There's channeling, through receiving it through another person. There's many ways to connect to our teams. And so these energies can slip in sometimes, and it doesn't always have to be, they don't always have to be attached to you physically. You can have something outside of you. My team once called them like whisperers. So this is people who do a lot of connection. So maybe somebody who is always going on like a lot of journeys, like they're meditating all the time. They're always traveling multidimensionally. They're basically opening themselves up quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you are wide open like that and connected in the ethers, in the higher dimensions, it is easy for these entities to come in and kind of pretend, that they're your guides, and bring forward messages that are not quite of the highest light. You just have to attune yourself to it. So we're going to go through some things that are going to help you to know what higher guidance does and does not feel like and sound like, because I want you to have that awareness. I do want you to know that if you stumble across this as you are connecting, if you start to think, oh, I'm not so sure that I'm connecting to my higher guides, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. And it doesn't always mean that something is attached to you either. As I said, there are many things in our space. And this is one of the things that I try and teach people. When you are just starting to connect, you're just starting to meditate, you need to have a process. And my process has always been to first ground, connect down to Gaia, to her crystal heart, to her crystal core, however you perceive it. Drop your roots, root down. Physically go outside and ground first if you can, but I like to visually just connect and anchor my light down to hers and connect us together. And then I open up to pure source light only, and I bring it down. Just imagine it flowing in, creating a column of light through the center of my body, connecting source and Gaia together. And then I expand that light out. And I create like a shield of light, but I don't stop there. I always like to call in Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is the protector angel. He is very powerful. He assists those of us who do entity release to remove some of these, especially the darker ones. I'm so thankful for him. But I like to ask for additional assistance, additional shielding, because I don't want, and I always will say, I do not allow any outside interference into this transmission. I'm stating it very clearly. Set your intention of who you want to talk to. Don't just open yourself up to anybody, because Grandma or Grandpa Earl might come in. He might be, around your home somewhere, in or out. And if you just open yourself up to anybody, Grandpa Earl might come in and try to deliver some messages to you. So you don't want to just allow that. And you don't want any darker entities that may be around, lurking around your space. And don't be afraid. We do all have these things in our environment. That's just part of it. But you just don't want to open yourself up to anyone. So I always say, be very specific. I intend to connect to my higher self and my divine team of light. You can say of the highest love, of the highest light, of the highest truth. I only intend to connect to my higher self. I do not allow any outside interference into this transmission, into this connection. Be specific. And that helps to create a stronger connection between you and your team. Does it mean that things still can't slip in? Oh, they can. And especially if you come from a place of fear, or if you are, if your nervous system is dysregulated, if you are upset, if you are emotional, This is one thing for anyone who channels and connects. If you are emotional, if you are upset about something, if you are in fear, or if you have a very strong belief about something, more than likely you're not going to get a clear transmission or clear guidance. It is going to be filtered through that layer of a bit of distortion in your field, the fear, the anxiousness, the anxiety, whatever it is. So you want to be grounded, you want to be clear, and that helps you to receive a clear transmission from your team. So set your intention, do your grounding, do your connection. It's always a great idea. You can do it however you like. And then you can call in your team and begin to bring through messages in whatever way that you bring them through. So let's talk a little bit about what true higher guidance does not feel like, what it should not be, so that you will know. So true higher guidance will never create urgency or pressure. It's not going to tell you to do something. If your higher self is bossing you around, that's not your guide. That's not your higher guidance. That's not your higher self. That is something else. I have had clients who have had what they believe to be their higher self telling them to do things that created a lot of trouble in their life. That will never happen. Guides will never steer you in a direction, and they will never cause you to hurt another person. So you just have to kind of be careful with that. They will not use fear or threat or consequence to motivate action. There's no something bad will happen if you don't listen. This is also, I see this sometimes with channelers who are delivering messages out into the collective, and they deliver a message of doom and gloom, or something is going to happen, or something big. There's going to be some sort of big traumatic event. Red flag. Higher guidance is not going to push fear into the collective, because that creates, we create through fear. We create through love. We create through fear. So true higher guides are not going to warn people of an impending doom, because we're going to create it with our energy. So that to me is a big red flag. I'm not saying that any higher guides have never come forward with something that has unfolded, but I've watched it happen many times, and you have to be careful with that. They will never involve harm to the body in any form, even symbolically. So if you are meditating and they're asking you to do something to harm yourself, not your guides. And I've seen this before as well. They will never override your free will. And I know this to be true, because so many people get upset because they want their guides to tell them more. And they're like, nope, free will, you get to choose. We are going to honor your free will. We will guide you, but we leave the decision making up to you. So higher guidance does not command, control, or force you into action. And it should not create confusion. If it's creating a lot of confusion, that may be a red flag. If it creates chaos or spiraling thoughts, it should not leave you feeling scattered or destabilized. Higher guidance should also not inflate your ego. It should not inflate your identity of importance in a way that separates you from others. If you've got a higher self that's telling you you are this something special, not that, wait a minute, let me say that again. Your guides can absolutely tell you you're something special, because you are. I would agree. But if they're telling you that you are the one that came to save the world, and I have seen this, oh my gosh. I watched this poor girl on TikTok with the most inflated ego, but she definitely believed that she was getting higher guidance. Oh, sweet girl, you are not. She had this whole list of names of who she believed herself to be, and again, as a practitioner, you see this a lot, where people have this belief that they are the one of some big figure. And it's more of, you might hold some of that imprint or you might be a part of that line or something. And there's a variety of different reasons for that. But this was a very elevated and inflated ego that put her above everyone. She basically was here to save the world. So, oh goodness. No, you alone must save, or you are chosen above all, or any ego elevation. That's not coming from your higher guides. That's going to come from something that wants to build you up so that they can create a little chaos in your life. They will never require secrecy or hiding or escaping from something, or you must do this quickly, or we have to go, or we have to hide, or this is important. Like, that's not higher guidance. That is something that is trying to just manipulate you. If it's anything that's creating any addictive or obsessive or dependent feelings or behaviors, you are not pulled into needing more and more to feel okay. That's possible lower guidance, darker energies. Anything that creates shame, judges you, or diminishes you, there should never be a tone of criticism, guilt, or inadequacy. And it should never replace your inner authority. You are sovereign. You are never made to feel that you cannot think, you cannot choose, or you cannot pause. So if you are receiving anything that makes you feel in that way, in any way like that, you should just step back, reset, come back again and connect when you feel that you are clearer and more grounded. And if that type of guidance continues, you feel like you keep getting it, it may be a good idea to have a clearing and clear your energy, because you may have something attached to you. And again, as I mentioned, these entities can overpower and override your higher self, but they're going to pretend to be your higher self. They're going to make you believe it, and they are good at it. I promise you they are. So what does true higher guidance actually feel like? Let's talk about that for a minute. It should feel calm and steady and grounded. Even when something is important, it still feels stable. It should be clear and simple and direct. It does not overcomplicate or overwhelm you. And there should be room for you to feel and to question and to choose. True higher guidance is always going to respect and honor your free will, your ability to choose your path, what you want to do. It should be very supportive, not controlling. It should offer and suggest and invite. If you have a higher self that is controlling you and telling you what to do, probably not the higher self. And what I've understood is there are so many streams to, I'm going to say it like a stream of consciousness is the way, kind of like just floating around. And you can be pulling down a very solid stream from your higher self, your guides, and these other sort of lower vibrational streams can blend in and distort the message. I don't know, it's quite complicated when we start to think of the quantum reality and how everything energetically works. So there's many ways that this could happen. You might think, well, how can this happen? It just does. It just does. That's what I found. So it should be neutral in emotional charge. It does not spike fear or urgency. And it should be respectful of your body and your nervous system. Your body should feel safe. It should feel open and gently activated, not overwhelmed. And higher guidance should be anchored in love, not overly sentimental and exaggerated. It should feel real, not like a performance. And it should be empowering. It should bring you back to your own knowing, not away from it. And it should feel consistent. It shouldn't shift rapidly in tone or identity or intention. that sometimes is an indicator of lower level energies. False light is when you have this beautiful guidance coming in and you feel uplifted, and then all of a sudden something shifts really quickly, and then you kind of go, oh, wait a minute. But it's almost like they can kind of hook you in a little bit. After you have the communication, you should feel clearer, more settled, and more like yourself. And so when your signal is distorted or unclear, the experience feels intense but not grounded. Imagery is vivid, but the body can feel unsettled. And there is a mix of truth and confusion. And you may feel pulled to act quickly without clarity. That's a sign. Stop, slow down. Do not. If you're kind of like, wait, what? Or the message changes or escalates in tone, that's an indicator. Or you feel less like yourself and not more. And so what do you do when you feel unsure? I'm going to give you some steps. First, you want to return to your center. You want to pause, you want to breathe slowly, and you want to bring awareness into your body. Feel your feet, your hands, your breath. And this alone begins to reset your system. And then I want you to just ask, does this feel calm, clear, and supportive? And if the answer is no, or even uncertain, you could say something like, I choose to disconnect from anything not aligned with my highest truth, clarity, and well-being, and then stop engaging. You don't need to follow that experience any further. You can step away from the meditation or whatever it is that you're doing, the automatic writing. Place your hands on your body and ground. Go outside and connect with nature. Drink some water and reorient to your physical space and allow clarity to return. And then when you feel grounded, when you feel clear, you can go back in it. Don't let it throw you off. If you do have something come in and all of a sudden you're automatic writing and you're like, oh, wait a minute, something is really off with this. Just let yourself disconnect and go back in it, because the guides have said too, it's important that we learn through discernment. So I have been allowed to have things come in throughout my journey, or experiences that I've had to learn stronger layers of discernment. But the guides have said, if we didn't let you experience that, then how would you learn? How would you grow? And I sure learned a lot from doing the entity clearing work along my quantum healing hypnosis journey. So I've had a lot of experience there. But I hope this was helpful. I think it's so much fun to connect with our guides, and it's so much fun to receive higher guidance. And if you are feeling the call to do so, absolutely do that. Follow that. But it's important to not only want to connect to the higher guidance, but also to understand what false light can feel like and how it can come in and kind of distort the message. And we just want to be very aware of that. If you are feeling like you may have one of these entities or attachments, or maybe you need a little field clearing, I do this work as a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and you can find me at quantumhealingwithin.com. And I also have many tools and resources to help with field clearing and energy clearing, guided meditations and field alignment statements that we work with, and all sorts of things that we do inside the Quantum Soul Portal. And you can find us there at quantumsoulportal.com. That's my online community. And if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about, if it has maybe triggered something in your mind and you're like thinking, oh gosh, I may have something that she mentioned, reach out to me, Heather at quantumhealingwithin.com. I'm happy to talk to you and give you any advice if you need a little advice on what to do next. I'd be happy to help you with that. I hope you found this podcast episode helpful. If you are moving through any of this, let me know. If you are on a platform where you can leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experience with any of this. And I am looking forward to connecting with you again in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Quantum Soul Portal podcast. If you'd like to explore more of my work or find ways to work with me, you can visit quantumhealingwithin.com and quantumsoulportal.com. I'm so grateful you're here, and I'll see you in the next episode.